What's going on, Slay Baes? It's Ashley and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm bringing to you another dupes video. I know I love dupes, you love dupes. It's a win-win situation here. I am going to be duping the new Nudes palette by Huda Beauty. Love this palette. I used it once on my channel and then never again. No idea why, because it is a really good palette. It is very pricey though. This retails for $65. I know, crazy, cringy to think I only use it once and never again, and it retails for $65. But when you open it up, you do have a variety of really beautiful nude shades. We have some mattes, we have some shimmers, we also have some glitter shades. It is a very beautiful and stunning palette. Now the dupable palette I have is a brand new palette that Alter Ego just came out with. This is the Daydream palette. This palette right here does retail for $18, which is an absolute steal. When you open it up, you do get that mirror, and then you also get the mattes, the shimmers, and the glitters. Both palettes right next to each other, they swatch fairly decent. Like, I really can't tell the difference, but I'm really excited to put these on my eyeballs and show you guys how they perform side by side. So if you guys are in it, if you guys are about it, if you're like ready to see these palettes in action, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, click that bell, and also don't forget to give the video a like if you like it. With that, let's go ahead and get right into the demo. Okay, you guys, so we're just gonna jump in. And now the way that these videos work on my channel is on one side, I will use an affordable palette, and then on the other side, I will use the high-end palette. So let's go over the dupe. I am going to be using the brand new Daydream palette by Alter Ego. And then on the other side, I will be using the iconic New Nudes palette by Huda Beauty. Surprisingly enough, I reviewed this on my channel once, and then this got pushed in the back of my drawer and I never use it again. Why? I have no idea, because there are so many beautiful shades within this palette and I love the color story. But besides that, I do want to just jump right into it. I did use a dry base primer. This is by MAC. This is the Soft Ochre Paint Pot. Love it, love it, love it. I put a pretty big dent in it already. I feel like I'm gonna use this up like very, very, very soon. But besides that, let's go ahead and get right into it. I'm gonna start off with the Alter Ego palette, and I'm gonna put this on the left side. Now I'm gonna bounce back between the affordable and high-end palette, but the very first shade I'm going to take is the bone colored shadow called Glow. I'm gonna put this on my brow bone and blend it just slightly into the crease, but not all the way into the crease. Now the shade I'm going to take from the Huda Beauty palette is this one right here called Bare. I'm going to take that on my brow bone and a little bit in the crease. Using that same brush, it is an ABH A13. All right, let's actually play around with a little bit of color from within the palette. I'm gonna pick up this shade, which is a peach shade called Bubbly, on an M441 by Morphe, and I'm just gonna rock this in my crease to act as my transition shade. By the way, you guys, we just finished watching Big Little Lies on HBO. Well, we didn't finish it, but we literally watched season 1 and half of season 2 because there are no episodes left, and it is getting so good. I'm a little sad though, because when I find shows that I like, I typically binge watch them and then I have nothing left to watch. So if you have any recommendations, let me know down below in the comments, because come on. Netflix is bae, Netflix is life, and I need some more recommendations. Come on now. Help me out. So this color here, it's definitely not as pigmented as I anticipated, but you know what? I'm hopeful that things will come together. I'm now gonna go into the Huda Beauty palette, and I'm gonna pick up this shade right here called Play, which is that peach tone within the palette, and I'm gonna do the same exact thing. I'm gonna rock this in my crease to act as the transitional shade. Ooh, this is actually looking a little bit deeper, if I do say so myself, and I'm not even mad at it. Like, this is like what I had envisioned for the Daydream palette, if I'm being honest. You guys, that is so pretty in the crease. Like, this is exactly what I envisioned over here. Like, this has like no dimension. It's just like peach. This is like peach with like a little something, you know? So anyways, let's go ahead and move on. Let's jump back into the Daydream palette. The next shade I'm gonna pick up is called Sunset. This one right here. I'm gonna lay that directly over top of the shade called Bubbly, just to add a little bit more dimension, because girl, this is looking very flat. Honestly, I feel like I'm not getting too much pigment, but it could just be the shade. You know what? After looking at both of these palettes right next to each other, I will definitely say that the shades are like slightly off, like in the slightest bit compared to the Huda Beauty palette. So I'm having trouble trying to figure out which shade in the Huda Beauty palette looks more like Sunset in the Daydream palette. I'm thinking it's Tickle, but I could be wrong. I'm just gonna go with Tickle because that's what I think in my mind is the correct shade, and I need to kind of mimic the same steps. So Tickle is more of a mauve shade. I'm gonna just run this right in the crease. Now, I don't wanna go too crazy with this look. I don't wanna create an intense eye look. That's what I'm telling myself, but we'll see how that goes. This is actually looking really, really pretty. This is the Huda Beauty side, by the way. You could definitely see the clear difference. Like this, like really has nothing going on, very little pigment. This side, poppin', like Huda, yes boo, yes. I need to use this palette more often. What do you guys think? Full one brand Huda Beauty makeup tutorial. Let me know if you want to see that. Coming soon. It will cost me a fortune, like a small fortune, but I'm down. I'm always down. So we definitely need to make something happen in the Daydream palette. Like we need to bring it back to life. We need to give it some definition because right now it's not looking too hot. So I'm gonna pick up this shade right here. This is called Daybreak. I'm gonna pick up that shade on an M507. This is like one of my favorite brushes for precision blending. So I'm really going to concentrate this shade right here on the outer V. Okay, has some pigment, but as you can see, it's not as pigmented as it is in the pan. Like it's not as opaque. But let's see if I can build it up. Taking that same M441 I was using earlier, I'm just gonna slightly buff out the edges. Yeah, I will definitely say when you get to blending these eyeshadows, they just kind of go like they kind of just like blend away, and that's a little unfortunate because I was expecting this to be a little bit more like intense, a little bit more opaque. All right, moving on, I'm gonna pick up the shade right here called Raw from the Huda Beauty palette, and on a clean M507, I'm just going to pack it right here, kind of mimicking the same steps. I'm just softly blending the shade in the outer V and just kind of sweeping it inwards, but nothing too crazy. I'm gonna add a little bit more of the shade right here in the very like inner part just to give it a different look and feel. And then with that brush, I'm just gonna go over the edges just to diffuse them. I'm gonna do the same exact thing on the Daydream side. I'm gonna pick up the shade called Daybreak, and I'm going to really focus it right here in the very inner part, just to kind of mimic what I did on the Huda Beauty side. So I'm just gonna be 100% honest with you, like so far, I'm not too impressed with the Daydream palette just because I feel like the undertones are completely wrong within the eyeshadow. I feel like it's not really blending as good, but I'm gonna keep it going because sometimes things can look really wonky in the process, and then when you start adding more shades, it kind of comes together full circle at the end. So I'm gonna go on to the next shade within the palette. I'm gonna pick up this shade right here called Fairy Tale, and I'm gonna put this all over my eyelid. And this definitely has like a pink undertone to it. I'm gonna apply it completely dry, and I'm not gonna cut the crease just because I wanna see like how this applies. I will definitely say it's building up very, very nicely on the lid. Keep in mind, I'm applying this completely dry. It's not wet, it's not damp or anything like that. It definitely doesn't look as pink as it does swatch on my arm, but nonetheless, it still is very pretty. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna switch brushes, and I'm gonna go into the Huda Beauty palette, and I'm gonna pick up the shade called Daydream right here, and I'm gonna do the same exact thing. I'm just gonna pop this on the lid. I'm not going to apply it wet, damp. I'm gonna apply it completely dry, and I'm not gonna cut the crease. So, do they look similar? Yes. Are they identical? No. I definitely feel like the new Nudes palette is a little bit more foiled, like it's a little bit more poppin'. It's definitely up my alley. This one definitely feels like a little lackluster. It's not as shiny as the new Nudes palette, but nonetheless, it is really pretty. I will definitely say that the mattes out here in this area, they're not really there. Like, not as poppin' as this side. I'm definitely gonna go in with a little bit more of that shade called Sunset, and I'm gonna try to build it up, especially in this outer V area on the Daydream side, because we need a little bit more pigment over here, honey. So I'm really gonna just try to build this up. Worst case scenario, I will just go in with my foundation and then try to add on and touch up, but it seems as though when I go in with a blending brush to diffuse out the edges that it completely takes away the color. I'm now going to go into the shade called Daybreak, and I'm going to continue packing it right here just to kind of build up this area. The next shade I'm going to take is called Cloud 9, and I am just going to pop that right next to the shade called Fairy Tale just to get it to blend a little bit better into this outer V. And I feel like this is going to help with this outer V area since it isn't as pigmented as I would have hoped. I'm going to take a little bit more of the shade called Daybreak, and I'm just going to buff it into that shimmer just to deepen it up. Anyways, I'm going to move on to the Huda Beauty side. I'm going to pick up the shade called Charmed, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to place it right next to this shimmer just to get it to seamlessly blend with this outer V color. And then picking up a little bit of the shade called Raw, I'm just going to buff it into that shimmer and really just deepen up the outer V a little more. So far, this is the look. I will definitely say that I'm not too impressed with this side. Like, so much fallout. Also, the mattes, I'm not entirely sure what happened there, but they aren't as pigmented as I would have hoped. But what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to clean up the fallout, put on a face, and then hopefully I could bring this together in the end, but we'll see. All right, Slay Baes. So I went ahead and zoomed you guys out, and I also finished off the rest of the face, just because sometimes I feel like in the process of doing our makeup, we can be really, really quick to judge, like, oh no, that looks bad, I'm going to take it all off, it's not going to look good. So I really wanted to give it a fair shot, finish off the rest of my face and really take a step back and look at it. And I will definitely say the Daydream palette, not as pigmented as the Huda Beauty Nudes palette. Do I feel like the tones are very similar? Yes. I didn't put on falsies just because I personally don't feel like I can go out in public and pass these two palettes as identical dupes for another. I definitely feel like there are clear differences between the two, and it clearly shows. Like, this eye definitely looks a lot more patchy in this area right here. Prime the lids the exact same. This one also isn't as pigmented, so I couldn't build the color up to this intensity right here. Also, in the process of me packing on the color, my eyes started to water a little bit, so I do have watery eye syndrome, which is why I had to bring this up a little bit higher, which is why they're kind of looking like they have a tilt. You know, I actually thought about trashing this video altogether, but then I thought, you know, my loyalty doesn't lie within these brands. My loyalty lies within you guys. Whether that means I'm sitting here telling you I love a palette or letting you guys know, hey, this palette just really didn't work out for me. And that's definitely the case. If the palette was similar in color but performed excellent, I would definitely recommend it, because I feel like a similar color story, very good quality, that's a no-brainer. But since I had problems with the overall formula and the pigmentation of the eyeshadows, that is why I am not recommending it. But again, I'm not here to tell you what to buy and what not to buy. I'm just here to tell you my experience and give you guys my recommendations, but do what you want with that information, okay? I'm gonna go. I love you. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I'll be sure to catch you guys all on the next one. Deuces.